Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Xavier Smith, and today I'm going to teach you how to graph tangent. Now, let's start. First, we have our unit circle. Second, let's see what tangent is. Tangent is sine over cosine, which is the same thing as saying y over x. So let's get started. Let's go around the unit circle all the way to 2 pi. First of all, I'm going to say we are going to use 45 degrees, root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2, which is pi over 4, because root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2 is equal to 1. So you use the reference angle of pi over 4 in the tangent graph. So let's start at 0 is 1 comma 0, which would be 0 over 1, which is 0. So we put down 0. Then pi over 4 would be root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2, which would be root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2, which would be 1. So we put that up at 1. Then we have pi over 2. Pi over 2 is 0, comma, 1, which would be 1 divided by 0. That is undefined. You cannot have something divided by 0. So we have an asymptote, meaning that these ends are going to reach towards infinity when next to it. So an asymptote at pi over 2. So we can say there's an asymptote there. Then we go over here to 3 pi over 4 is negative root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2. Well, root 2 over 2 divided by negative root 2 over 2 is going to give us negative 1. So 3 pi over 4, and then we get negative 1. Then pi, negative 1 comma 0, will be 0 divided by negative 1 is 0. Then we have negative root 2 over 2, comma, negative root 2 over 2 will be negative root 2 over 2 divided by negative root 2 over 2 will give us 1. So at 5 pi over 4, we have 1. Then 3 pi over 2 is 0, comma, negative 1. Well, that is negative 1 divided by 0. Again, we can't have a number divided by 0 that is undefined. Another asymptote. 3 pi over 2 is an asymptote. So as you see, this is way different from sine and cosine already because there are asymptotes. Now, let's do 7 pi over 4 would be root 2 over 2, comma, negative root 2 over 2. Will be negative root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2 is negative 1. So 7 pi over 4 is negative 1. Then 2 pi is 1, comma, 0, which will be 0 divided by 1 will give us 0 divided by 1 will give us 0, yes. And then you could keep going because this is periodic. So if we did 9 pi over 4, it'd be 1 again. And then if you went even further and said 10 pi over 4, which is 5 pi over 2, you would get another asymptote. So let's connect the points. First, we can connect the ones with the asymptotes. Pardon my not very curvy drawing of a curve. And then this one will look like this. So this is what tangent looks like. It looks a lot different than sine and cosine. Why? Well, because we can have undefineds, and then we have asymptotes. So these ends are reaching towards infinity. But the main thing I want you to get from here, from this graph, is first of all, what tangent looks like. It's crazy. Second of all, that again, we have a midpoint. Then there are these things called halfway points it's halfway between the middle, the midpoint, like the point that's on the midline, and the asymptote. And then all that is the amplitude up from the midline. So here, we move over pi over 4 and it's up 1. We move over pi over 4 and it's down 1. Third of all, I want you to get the period from this. The period, we go asymptote to asymptote because we see from this asymptote to this asymptote, there's one full graph. Then from this asymptote to this asymptote, it's the same graph again. So from one asymptote to the next asymptote is one full graph. So this asymptote is pi over 2. This one is 3 pi over 2. Well, 3 pi over 2 divided by, 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 is pi. So our period of tangent is pi. It's only one, it's half of the period of sine and cosine. Well, I hope you now know how to graph tangent. If you would like to find out how to translate and transform tangent, please go watch my videos on that. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.